All right, and our impy draw was here. We had the loins moving one space. So those chaps moved to here. And now we've got the British action, and we're going to fire a volley, yes. Let's see, they're 2 spaces away, so we're going to use this one we were thinking about using before because we've got 4 on there. And yeah, so now sixes count, of course. We've got our 4 dice ready to go. We don't need to assign this to any person because this is built into the card itself. So we're looking for 6s or 5s, preferably 6s, and we're firing at... actually, we can't fire at them because of the storehouse. So we can fire at, let's see, we can fire at Indlondo, Ibutho, or we can fire at Udloko. Right, I think we're going to fire at Udloko. Here we go. And we got 1 hit. That's our lot. Yes. So there's 1 hit. They don't retreat at all. So there's their marker there. So that's going to come off and go into the Zulu casualties. There we are. So now this unit can obviously only take 1 more hit because that will then eliminate it. Okay. So pay your card. Don't forget to pay your card. There we go. That goes in there. Okay. That was our action. So now we have a card draw, optional. Well, we got Colour Sergeant Born in play, so we can have a hand of any size. And we've got steady, lads, steady. Right, so we got that. And let's read that card. Okay, yeah, so that card, steady, lads, steady, means that we can discard that during the draw phase to choose a card with a grey title. Basically a firing card from the discard pile. So that means we could technically dig out, as we can see, we could dig out a commit the reserve platoon card if we had the reserve platoon formed. But I'm not sure that we're going to do that because, because Colour Sergeant Born being there means that we can have unlimited hand size. Of course, the question now becomes... there aren't that many turns left, so it's all very well having all these cards to choose from. There's a nice choice and everything, but you're certainly not going to get to use many of them before the end of the game. The end of the game is nigh. I mean, it's going to be... I don't want to take the mystery away. I'm not going to count those cards, but it's just around the corner. Okay, let's see. So we've done our card draw. Hero phase, so we can put forth a hero... for free, so let's go ahead and put forth, I think, Commissary Dalton. I like the sound of him. And okay, we've done that, and then we just have housekeeping, and we don't have to do anything because of Colour Sergeant Born, and we're on to... So that was the 21st turn. What the heck, let's just keep running. Let's go on to the 22nd turn and see what happens. All right, so we've got... what have we got? That is... Sorry, it's the... wake up, Jeff. It's the... What is that? Is that the left and right horns? Hang on. Right, so that means we've got some interesting action. Yeah, we've got the left horn and the right horn are both going to move 2 spaces, or going to attempt to. So, yes. So that means that if we do the left horn first, the left horn is going to move to here, okay, and is going to attempt to move, to to here, and there we go. And if first thing we do is we roll the old die to see if Corporal Shees can keep them back, and he rolls a 1, so he can't, so they get to move there too. They get to move to there, and that comes off, and Corporal Shees has to fall back into the safety of the player's hand. Okay, so they've basically broken through there. Then the right horn is here. They would move 2 spaces, but they can't because they have to stop. They have to end a turn when they enter a burning building. So they're going to move to there and stop. Okay. And that is that done. So that's up here now. That's the 22nd turn. Okay. And we go on to the British action. Okay, and I think what we want to do is we're going to use the volley fire by ranks. This will cause low ammunition, so it has to be used advisedly. I mean, we're in a pretty poor situation here at the moment. Things are looking a bit desperate, but so we're going to use that. That means we're going to have 6 dice that we can roll at the. Let's see here. Sorry, I can't quite see the name there. Here we go. Uthulwana, Ibutho, and they're the big one, the one with a big stack of markers on it there, the large complement of chaps. And now they're in the storehouse. That means we can fire on them. We can't fire through the storehouse, but we can fire on them. Because it's on fire, now in here, 4s, if you roll a 4, that's a retreat. So that means you're getting something out of 4, 5s and 6s. So it sounds like a good candidate for this rather large volley fire by the ranks. Right, so we're going to roll 5 dice because they're at close range. We are indeed. Okay. So this is our British action. Okay, so we'll take that and make sure we spend it, and we'll put this here. This happens at the end, of course, after we've done our firing, so we'll just put that there so we know, keep ourselves honest. Okay, so we're firing at full effect, and we're looking for 4, 5 and 6s. Oops. Okay, there we go. So we've bended. We've got a 5 and a 4. Wow. All right, well, that's a retreat of 2. So they're going to retreat 2. Right, so that's 1, 2, take them back to there. There we are. Yeah, that's it. Okay, didn't get much out of that, but there we go. Kept us going, kept us out of trouble for a little bit longer. And now we get a card draw, which is optional. So we'll go ahead and draw the card, see what we've got. Aha! Sergeant Windridge. Good old Sergeant Windridge, eh? Marvellous chap, marvellous. Yes, yes. Let's see. Right, so we'll keep him there. All right, draw a card. We can put forth a hero at this point. I think we'll put forth Sergeant Windridge, now that you mention it. And we press on. Right, there we go. We've pressed on to turn 23. And there we go. The chest is moving forward 1. All right. So the chest, Ibutho. And so that's the Indlondo Ibutho. And let's go ahead and roll for Private Hook there, who's still doing his bit at the hospital. Hanging on, you see, hanging on. Old Hooky. And so what is he looking for? He's looking for a 5 or a 6 to prevent them from moving into there. No such luck this time, sadly. Hooky has done his best. So that marker goes off there. Hook goes back to the safety of the player hand, which is there. And the Indlondo Ibutho are now in the hospital. Right, you see? Yes, you see? And, oh, dear me. Things are getting a bit tasty around here. Right, so now it's the British action. I'm low on ammo. Let's decide what to do. Right, so for the British action, gave it some thought, and hopefully this will be useful. Yes, with Sergeant Windridge, you have his heroic ability, which is that you can discard the card to perform any other available cards. No, we don't want to do that, sorry. It says you may return this card to your hand to perform one free non-volley action. Okay, so of course it's not an action to do that, because otherwise it would be completely pointless. So Right, we're going to pop that into our hand. There's Sergeant Windridge. And the free non-volley action is to get rid of this. We're going to distribute ammunition. That's what we're going to do. So, ammunition distributed. Right, so now we have another action that we can do. Let's see. Because we've got these chaps here at a distance of 1. So we're looking here to try and find what would be useful with that. This one is not going to be. This one's going to play a role, a very important role in a minute when we do the cards, discard, draw, that sort of thing. Doing the draw phase, that's right. But anyway, in the meantime, we're going to do shooting with the volley fire here. So let's play that. That means we've got 3 dice at close range, sorry, which is what we have here. So we now, which one of those would we go for? As far as I can see, they're both exactly the same. I mean, we've got Corporal Sheese and we've got Private Hook. So if they weren't there, if they were further back, we could defend the hospital or we could defend the north wall. So it's, I think there's no significant difference between the two of them, as far as I can tell. So let's see. Yeah, I'll go for them just for the heck of it. So there we go. Pick the one that's difficult to pronounce. Right, the Indloyengwe. We're going to go for them. So we're firing 3 dice, which is not the greatest, but there we are. And there are no special considerations. Note that there is no modifier. Yes, it's nighttime, but we have a burning building, and that lights things up, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so we're firing away, and we're looking for 5s or 6s, preference being for 6s. And we've managed to get 1 5, which is a retreat. So it's a result. There we are. Okay, so that was our... what was that? There was our volley fire. Present fire. Right. Very good. That was our action there. And then we have the card draw. Right, so in the card draw phase, we can instead discard this and then choose a card with a grey title. Well, I don't want to choose. I could go in there, of course, and dig out a what's it called? A reserve platoon card, but that would mean I'd have to form the reserve platoon with a sergeant and so forth. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to go for the volley fire by ranks because that's got 5 dice all by itself. So, right, I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to play steady, lads, steady. So we've done that. Okay. Can't be too much left in there. Right, so that's ready to go. All right, we're doing the card drawing phase right now, yes. And so now it's the hero. We can put forth a hero. Well, Sergeant Windridge is an awfully handy chap to have around, so we're going to put him forth, make him handy. And then we do our housekeeping. We can have as many cards as we like because we have Colour Sergeant Bourne in play. And we go on to the next turn. Right, and things are getting tasty again. Here they come once again. We've got the left and right horns are both moving 2 spaces. And we now have no one blocking their path. So... yes, that was a, you could say that it's done now. I'm not going to reset it. Could say that I should have put forth Corporal Sheese so that he could have manned the north wall. But having Sergeant Windridge is also very useful because he basically gives you a free action. So there we are. Anyway, they both get to move too, so they get to go 1, 2. They're now in the outer perimeter. Oh dear, only 2 spaces away from victory. And these chaps are going to go the, let's see, Uthulwana Ibutho. They're going to go to the storehouse. And there they are. All right. And then it's time to decide upon a British action. Or possibly 2. All right, so I think what we're going to do is the obvious thing to do is because we did just finagled getting this card back in the last turn, so now we're going to play it this turn. I don't think we're actually going to be able to do 2 actions because, of course, there's a lot on the card. So, of course, obviously you play the game a few times and you're going to figure out more fruitful ways to integrate all the cards together, to do clever little combinations of actions with them. But for the immediate moment, Sergeant Windridge has his special ability to give you a free action, but it has to be a non-volley action. So, oh no, we can use them. Of course we can, yes, because this action will cause low ammunition, and then Sergeant Windridge can distribute ammunition. We'll be back to where we started, which is marvellous. Okay, so we're going to do volley fire by the ranks. Who are we going to fire at? Well, we're going to fire at these chaps, obviously. In fact, we must, under the rules, we must fire at those chaps. So we've got 4 dice. There are no other modifiers. Okay, so there's our volley fire, goes there. Mark the ammunition as low. Mark your target as it comes. Right. Okay, and so we're rolling fully 5 dice, looking for 5s and 6s. Let's see, they're a bit thin on the ground, so let's see what we can do with that. Oh dear, long faces all round. Well, that could be the one that decides the battle. Nothing doing, nothing there. Good Lord. Oh dear. Yes, it's a bit bleak. Right, so then we have Sergeant Windridge. By returning this card to your hand, you may perform 1 free non-volley action. So he's distributed the ammunition. So that's all set. Then we have the card draw. All right, let's see what we get. Fixed bayonets. Oh, that seems appropriate, doesn't it, at a time like this? So let's see. We've got, 4 at close range. That's the sort of thing we need at this time. Right, so there's our card. And now we can put forth a hero. So let's see. We could put forth... no, we can't put forth Corporal Shees because the enemy has already come through that way. You can't put him there when he's got the enemy behind him. We can't put forward Private Hook because they're in the hospital. We can't do that. We'd have to push them back first. So we are indeed going to be putting forward, once again, the reliable Sergeant Windridge, who is, of course, the sergeant with the muscles, as well, in the movie he is anyway. I'm sure he was a very muscular chap anyway, I dare say. So, and that's the end of that turn. Right, well, what we got out of the old cup there was, out of the opaque cup, was Zulu snipers. And if it's nighttime, once you've drawn that, you discard it. You put it over here with this lot. And what you do is you then draw another chit from there until you get an advance chit, which I did after a few chits, and we've got everybody advance. Now, of course, as you can see, that would mean because the Indlayengwe Ibutho is here, if they advance 2, 1, 2, that's the end of the game. Okay, they've Zulu victory, all that sort of thing. But I've managed to clarify the rules in my head now because before I think I was saying that if you did a heroic activity, one of these things here, the sort of green bit up here, not the blue bit, but the green bit, that still cost you an action. And apparently that is not the case, for the rules, and I quote, say, free actions, in addition to the one action that the player is allowed, all heroic, that is to say continuous, sacrifice and leadership actions are always free. So the whole idea here, I think, is that at a time like this, where otherwise they would just move to there and the game would be over, it means that if you can, if it fits, you can play the card, do the heroic activities, and it does not cost you an action is the key point. Okay, because some of these can be done even now, before it's the British actions phase in the sequence of play. So, for example, Corporal Sheese, you can discard this card, so that basically means he's gone forward heroically, sacrificed himself. He's either wounded or dead, bless him. Let's see. Discard the card to allow it or any other to fire one volley at the end of the Impi phase before the Ubuntu phase. So the Impi phase is what we've just done, and then the Ubuntu phase is would be the movement, so we can fire at them before they move, in other words. So if we fire at them, we might be able to push them back. We do have a fixed bayonet card right here, so we could use that, which would be 4 dice, which might be able to get something useful going on there. Now, of course, problem is everyone has been told to advance 2 spaces, so they can go 1, 2 to there. They can go 1, 2 to there. I think it says that the larger unit will go first, so they would go to there, but they wouldn't actually reach the victory location, and they would go 1, 2 to there. Right, so yeah, the other, let's see, who else have got? I won't take up your time. Let me just look at the other special abilities I've got, that because I might be playing several cards here. Yeah, and I think I actually have the ideal card here. Of course, Commissary Dalton was a hugely important figure in the battle. So we're going to play him because it says you may discard this card after drawing and examining the MP marker to discard it without effect and draw again. So obviously, everyone advanced 2 spaces is a hugely important action for the Zulus. It's a general advance. It's the most powerful. I mean, if you look at those chits over there, it's the most powerful chit that has come up so far. So Commissary Dalton is going to jump in and sacrifice himself. And we're going to ignore that chit. And instead, we're going to draw another one. Right. So, yeah, that's how it works, isn't it? Yeah, that's what we're doing. Right, okay. And that was a free action. Well, more to the point, it was it was free, and it was also taking place not even in the action phase. Right. So instead, this is what we've got. So we've got what is that? That's a move forward of 1 for the chest, and I'm not even sure that they can move to there. Let's see. Okay, so now it's time for a British action, and we are in fact going to have a bayonet charge here. It's a serious situation, so we're going to go for them. We can roll 4 dice, and the nice thing about this is it doesn't deplete our ammunition, of course, because it's a bayonet charge. Right, so let's grab 4 dice, and there are no modifiers, as far as I can see. There we are. No building on fire or anything like that. Okay. So we're looking for 5s and 6s, and we're attacking the Indloyendwe Ibutho. All right. Well, that's a bit better. At least we got 2 retreats out of that, so let's do that. Right. So we're going to draw a card. And that looks nice. Okay. Let's see. Ready, on guard. Okay, 4 dice at short range, close range, I should say, and it does not deplete ammunition, so that's good. And then we have put forth a hero. I'm going to put forward Hook in this particular instance. We can't put him. Let's see. We can't put him. Wait a minute. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to put forward Corporal Sheese. We can't put him there if there's somebody at a lower numbered space, but there's not. So we can put him there. Right, so Corporal Sheese, we put forth the hero, and he is on the north wall. There he goes. Good chap. He will have to retreat back into the hand if somebody gets in, as we can see. Okay, so that was put forth a hero, and housekeeping is fine. That's the end of that turn. So that was actually the 25th turn. Okay, well, I got a, what was it? Wait a minute, I got rifles overheat. So that means during the action phase, your volleys have a -1 die roll modifier. Okay. Right. Okay, and you have to then draw chits until you get an advance, or if you do get an advance, you keep it. Overheat goes back in there. This is what we drew. Advance forward 2 for the right horn. That's that. So that would take them to 1, 2. It would take them to there. But instead, I'm going to sacrifice poor chap. I'm going to sacrifice Corporal Shees, because if we discard this, allow it or any other to fire 1 volley at the end of the Impi phase before the Ibuthu phase. So we're going to fire 1 volley at them. We're going to use that, which should do some damage. They got a 4 in there, means retreat as well. So we're playing Corporal Shees there, so that means he's no longer there. Okay, and that means we can play this as a free action, basically. So we've got 4 dice on there, and we're going after the Uthulwana Ibuthu coming out of the storehouse into the outer perimeter. Let's see if we can get 4, 5, 6. And we've got nothing. Look at that. Ooh, that is disappointing. Okay. Is there anything else we can do? Is there somebody else we can play? There is. There's Private Hook. We may discard this card to that means he goes again. He's heroic sacrifice to prevent the advance of any 1 Ibuthu into any box with a number 1 or lower value. So that means they would not be able to advance. So we're going to do that. Okay. Otherwise, they'd be able to go 1, 2 and get to there. So yeah, these are things that are being done for free. So they don't get to move. Right, that's that over. Now we're into the British action phase. We played that, didn't we? Played that. There we go. Now we're into the British action phase, let's think. Okay, and this time we're going to use, we don't have a lot of cards down here, so it's not a problem. We're going to use Colour Sergeant Bourne instead as an actual volley action. So let's see, we're firing at close range. We're going to, let's see, who are we going to fire? If we fire at them, they're more likely to get pushed back. If we fired at them and we got remarkable luck, we could actually eliminate them, but that seems unlikely. So I think we're going to fire at them because 4 means retreat. So we're going to be firing 3 dice at them. So he's just going to perform an action. So we put him back here. He's performed an action. Okay. And we're going to roll 3 dice for Colour Sergeant Bourne and the chaps. Looking for 4, 5, 6s. Oh, that's a bit more like it. Okay, we've got a 6 and a 5, so they've lost 1. There we are. That's a casualty. And they retreat 1. So they'll retreat to here. Okay. Let's see, it's Colour Sergeant Bourne. That was the action. And now we will draw a card. Yes, we want cards that are good firepower at short range. Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, there we go. That will lower the ammunition, but you do get to roll 5 dice. Okay, there's our card draw. Now we can put forth a hero. We'll put forward Colour Sergeant Bourne again. He's a busy chap. Do our housekeeping. We've only got 4 cards. It's fine. We can have up to 5. And we press on. And yes, sharp-eyed observers will have noticed that I did the firing incorrectly on the Uthulwana Ibutho, when they were here at the storehouse, because the rifles had overheated, which was a -1 on the dice. So although I rolled a 6 and a 5, which I took to be a hit and a retreat, it should actually, they're both downgraded by 1, which gives me a 4 and a 5 rather than a 6 and a 5. And so because this is on fire and everything, that means you retreat on 4s. So instead of getting a hit and a retreat, I got 2 retreats. So I put the marker back, I took it from here and I put it back on there. And instead of going from here to there, they're gone from there to 1, 2. They've retreated to that position there. And that is the end of that turn, which, let's see if we take a look at the situation, was the 26th turn. And we've got to be, yeah, go on then. Okay, yeah, look, there are 3 cards left. I don't know how many chits there are left in there, but any second now, surely the game must end. Right, well, we had a bit of an interesting twist that time. The chit that was drawn was for Prince Dabulamanzi Kampande, and when you draw that chit, you then roll a die, and you're going to return random mixed up from the advance markers that have been taken, that number of unknown random mixed up advance markers to the chit cup. Well, as it turned out, of course, I've been keeping track of how many turns I've done over here. So how was I going to do that? Well, actually, I rolled one die and I rolled one. So I only needed one chit, but I needed a random chit selected from here. So I used a highly advanced technique that some of us wargamers have developed over decades of experience, which is to say, I looked in this direction and then stuck my hand out in that direction and put my finger down and happened to land on an advance marker, and I used that one and I put that in the chit. So I don't know in the bleh. Start again. In the opaque cup. So I know that I put one in there. Anyway, the key thing for us is that that's it. That's the implementation of the drawn chit. So that's all they did this turn. Was the old prince got involved. And there's life in the old thing yet, because they've got at least one more advance marker in there. And his chit goes over here, not to be seen again. So now we get to do what we want to do. So that hopefully that's going to be a chance to blast away and get them to retire a bit. So let's have a look at that. Yes, and I think what we're going to do is volley fire by the ranks. We can roll 5 dice at close range target. There's a close range target there. So that's what we'll do. Once we do that, we're going to be low on ammo. So let's get the low on ammo committed there. Okay, let's spend our card. Goes up here. All right. And then we roll. We have no modifiers now. We are rolling 5 dice. Because, of course, you really place that after you've done this. So that doesn't apply at this moment. Okay, so we're rolling 5 dice. And they are in the hospital. So no modifiers for the hospital, so we're looking for 5s and 6s. Okay. Well, we got 2. We got a 6 and a 5, so that means we got 1 hit, okay, on them. Okay, that takes them down to the last hit, as it were, left. Well, they can take 1 more hit, in other words, and they retreat by 1 to here. Okay. So that's our action there. And now we've got, let's see, what can we do? We can do a card draw now. Yes, let's do a card draw. This could end the game pretty soon. Something's going to end the game. Oh, no, apparently not. Right, okay. Independent, fare at will. Oh, that's awfully nice of him, as they say in the movie. Right, so, yeah, well, that's a generally useful card. Okay, nothing particularly special about it, but a good consistent 2 dice. Although that's really not much, is it? 2 dice at all ranges. Okay, well, we got the card. Let's not complain about it. And now we can, hero phase, we can put forth a hero. Well, we don't have any to put forth because they're already in play. Okay, housekeeping, we've got less than 6 cards, 5 cards or less, so we're all right there. So we move on to the next turn. Oh, go on then, let's do that live, because we're getting pretty close to the end of the game here, I would think. So let's see who we grab this time. Need a heavier opaque cup. There we go. What do we got? Rifles overheat. Okay, now, last time I missed this when we fired because I forgot to apply the modifier and then had to go back and correct it. So let's see if we can have this sort of like first and foremost this time. So this one gets put back into the cup. You don't throw it away once you play it. So in this particular instance, I think perhaps maybe if I do that, if I put that in there to remind me that the rifles will overheat. Okay. So again, now there was no action by the Zulu army here. Actually, I've got to read up on that one because I want to find out if you're supposed to put it back and then take an. I think maybe you do. You take another advance marker. Right. So you You draw another marker. If it's an advanced marker, implement it normally. If it is not, return it to the cup. Right, so let's do that. All right, one marker. There we go. What do we got? It's an advanced marker, okay? So we're going to implement that normally. So the Zulus do something. That would normally get put back in the cup at this point, but I can leave it there for the moment to remind us of the -1. There's no separate marker for that. I was looking over here to see if there's a separate marker for that, but there's not. So that is what will happen, okay, in the Ibuthu implementation phase. Right, so as we can see, it is indeed the left horn. The left horn is going to advance 2, right? Okay, so that's 1, 2. They're inside, they're in the outer perimeter. That's we don't like that. Okay, so that has now been implemented. So that takes us up to here, which means that this is now the 28th turn of the game. Yes. All right, so they're 2 spaces away from the victory location, which we don't like. And now it is time for the British action, remembering that we need to do -1. Right, so it is awfully close, isn't it? As you can see, I mean, you know, we've been a whisker away from defeat many times in this game, which I would imagine is one of the reasons it's so popular. I mean, it's of course it depends on the situation. You know, it might be difficult to do something like that at, you know, like what, the Battle of Waterloo or something. I don't know, but because you've got such an obvious, if they reach the Zulu victory spot, which, you know, could be there, or there, you know, that's it. So they keep pressing in and pressing in. Right. Anyway, marvelous. Well, we've got a system figured out this time. So we're going to use Sergeant Windridge, who can, if you return this card to your hand, you can perform 1 free non-volley action, and that's a heroic ability there, so that doesn't cost to play that. So I'm going to return it to my hand. Okay, we can do 1 free non-volley action. So we're going to have Windridge distribute ammunition. Yay! Okay, so we don't have that -1. But of course we do have a -1 over there, we've reminded ourselves. And now what are we going to do? Well, we're actually going to do, the action is going to be Colour Sergeant Bourne. That is interesting, isn't it? Because of course now it means that if he comes down here as his action is, we're going to use his volley, you see, because he's got the best one. So if we do that as an action and put him down here, that means now they're both down here, and then later on in the turn we can put forth a hero up to here, but it will only be one of them. Okay, right, so he's getting in. We got a volley of 3 dice, only 3 dice. Okay, there we are, and we got our -1 that we have to remember. And who are we firing at? Okay, well, obviously it's got to be them. The rules state it has to be them. And so we got 3 dice firing at them. There are no other modifiers. So we're looking for, let's see, 5s won't count because of the -1. So that means we're looking for 6s this time. And we've got 1 6. Okay, so that is downgraded to a 5. So that becomes a retreat. And those chaps are going to go, well, they came from here, right, so they're going to retreat to here. Okay, rifle overheat goes back in there. All right, then we come to our card draw, which could be the end of the game. No. Independent, a fair it will. Right. Okay, that was our card draw. And now we can put forth a hero. So who would that be? That'd be Colour Sergeant Bourne, I think, without too much worrying, tiresome analysis of that. Now we come to the housekeeping. And now we do finally, this is the first time in the game that we have had to get rid of a card. We've had lots of cards before, but we've had Colour Sergeant Bourne in play, which means that when he's in play, you can skip this discard set. Right, phase. But we have to do it now because we've got more than 5. So we're not going to discard, obviously, a hero. Let's see, what do we got? Let's see, close range is only 1. That one doesn't look terribly effective, does it? It's good for long range work, which is 3, but there's not much of that going on, well, except for them. Let's see, these are sort of something and nothing, aren't they? I've got 2 of them. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of one of them, I think. So that means I've now got 5 cards, which I'm allowed to have. As you can see, missed that earlier actually, but it's right there. Maximum hand size is 5. Well laid out sheet or map board and game board and all this sort of thing. Very nice. Okay. So we've done the housekeeping. That's the end of that turn. I think I'll keep the camera rolling because surely pretty soon it's going to be the end of the game. Right. So no idea. I don't know how many chits there are left in there. Don't think there are many though. I really don't. Whoops. Let's see what we got. Come on. Sorry about this. Here we go. Got it. And it's rifles overheat. Okay. So, what do? Let's see, you reach for an advanced marker. It actually doesn't say if there is, it says, if it's not an advanced marker, return it to the cup. If it is an advanced marker, implement it. Okay. And yes, the cup no longer runneth over, the cup runneth dry. So, I'm going to put that there because to remind us of the -1. There we go. -1. We can't draw, well, we drew that chit, we put it back, we couldn't draw an advanced marker, and we couldn't draw a non-advanced marker. Okay. I'm going to check the rules just quickly to see if they say anything special about this condition. Of course, we have only got 1 card left here, so surely, I'm sure that one of the cards says the game's over. So that must be that card, I think. I don't find anything about drawing rifles overheat and then what you should do if you cannot draw any markers at all. So I'm going to carry on. Let's see. So therefore, there is nothing. Well, the implementation was rifles overheat. I've done that. So now we come to a British action. Okay. Let's see. So we have we got these right. What sort of ranges are we talking about here? We got a range of 1 there. We got 2 here, 3 here, and 2 here. So the most pressing danger is 1, obviously there. So we can fire at them at close range, which we could do with Colour Sergeant Bourne. Yeah, we're not short of ammo. Got a -1 there, of course, but yeah, that's what we'll do our action. Let's get on with it. We'll do Colour Sergeant Bourne. We're going to fire 3 dice again, and we're firing at the north wall. Chaps at the north wall. Indloyengue Butho. Here we go. And we got -1 going for us, so that's a nothing result there, as you can see. Put rifles overheat back in the cup. Well, I'm actually going to put it there because it's tricky for me to get it out of the cup. So it's in the cup, theoretically. Right. Remember, it's the only one left. So there's no mystery about what it is. Okay. So that was our British action. There's Colour Sergeant Bourne down there, as he should be. Now we do a card draw optional. It's worth noting that, of course, that the card draw is optional. I could decide not to draw that card. Why would I do that? Because if I don't do it, it means that I could carry on playing and I might be able to sort of do more damage to the enemy before the game is declared as being over. But with him as close as he is, and me running out of aces here, I don't have, these... I don't have Chard anymore. I don't have Bromhead. I don't have Hook. I don't have Corporal Sheese. And I don't have... oh, gosh, I apologize. Can't remember his name. Commissary... yes, I don't have him. So I think I will draw the card, which is presumably the end of the game. There we go. Right. It's the relief column. Special event. You survived. The game is over. Consult Rule 9.0 to determine the victory level achieved. Right. We've come to the end of the game. So, now it's interesting actually, because what I found on Board Game Geek was this rather nice production. Show it there briefly. I don't know if that's based on something that already exists, an actual reference card that already exists, or if it's just something lovingly put together by a fan. It's clearly put together by a fan, but I don't know if it's using sort of existing artwork of any kind apart from the obvious artwork there. Okay. But the thing is that the point system it has it must be from a different version of the rules, because it doesn't match the version of the rules I have. Let me see if I can find some examples. Right, and for reference, I am evidently playing version 1.0 of the rules, and I'm sure there are subsequent versions. But yeah, so on this reference sheet, which I've got here, which is for recording your battles, so I don't know if the point system changed at some point, because in my rule book, I've got, for example, 2 victory points for each Zulu hit marker in the Zulu casualties box. But then on the reference sheet I've got here, which is from Board Game Geek, it's got 3 points for each one of those. Also, for every Zulu Ibuthu counter that is a casualty, my rules say 5 victory points, and the reference sheet says 6. So, different system of victory points being awarded. Right, fair enough. Yeah, so, okay, so I'm now going to total up the victory points and see where we are. Okay, well, though there are the casualties there, of course, and... Oh, wait a minute, that is just 1, okay. There's the casualties there. There are 5 markers there. Also involved in the victory calculation is the fact that, let's see, what is it? The hospital is not currently burning. Right. Anyway, let's go through the numbers. We look at available heroes without a medal. There are none. Available means they're up here. They're active, as it were. They're doing something, or they're available to do something. Okay, as opposed to in your hand. Right. Nobody up there. Right. Is anybody up there without a medal? No. Is anybody up there with a medal? No. Okay. It's interesting because I thought I would have lost points for people ending up in there, which means they're like wounded presumably or whatever. But that's not the case. Let's see. We've got 2 victory points for each Zulu hit marker in the casualties box. So there are 5 in there. Times 2 is 10. That's 10 points there. We've got 2 points each for the hospital and storehouse if it is not burning. Excuse me. So we got 2 points for the hospital. Excuse me. So we got 12 so far. And then finally, the only other thing is we get 20 points if a Zulu Ibutho, never reached the Zulu victory marker to end the game. That never happened, so we get those 20 points. So we have a grand total of 32 points. Okay, and that is a minor British victory, a Zulu setback. So that is not a Zulu defeat, is not a Zulu debacle. It is not a major British victory. It is not an epic British victory. Then again, it is better than a standoff, an ignoble defeat, or a tragic defeat. So we're sort of right in the middle. Although we're on the good side, as it were, of we've done better than a draw. Let's put it that way. Yes. So anything between 30 and 34 points inclusive is a minor British victory, a Zulu setback, and that is what we have achieved. Okay. Right. Now, so of course now, let's have our summary at the end of the game of the overall thoughts of playing this game for the first time. Right, well, first and foremost, I would say that I thoroughly enjoyed the game. It was the first time I've ever played it, and I did thoroughly enjoy it. Just looking now at the rule book, which just flipping it over a bit here. Seems to me it is. It's 6 pages long. It's 6 pages of letter-sized pages. It's probably the American dimensions. Yeah, 8.5 by 11. And the text is small. I don't want to. I'm just going to sort of show it to you very briefly here because I don't want to sort of get into any kind of a copyright problem. So I'll show it to you in a way that's completely hopeless to you if you're going to. Yeah, well, you get the idea. Yeah, so that sort of thing. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. So the text is pretty dense. I do like the color coding. There's a lot of color coding involved in the rules, and I mean it's about bloody time that rule designers do this sort of thing. Colors. These colors have been available for a long time, so here's to it. Anyway, makes it easier to follow what's going on, find things, etc. Yeah, so in 6 pages of rules, you can't do a sort of an Avalon Hill classic like the Battle of the Bulge or something like that. No. So it's a much simpler situation in the way that this is all laid out. You've not got a map board that's covered in, 1,500 hexagons. Instead, you've got a very limited number of spaces that you can move over. But it gets to the core of the matter, obviously. And obviously different simulations suit that sort of thing and others don't. So anyway, so you've got, and of course the marvelous thing with the Zulu methods is you have the chest and horns and loins of the bull buffalo. And so splendid, we've got all that going for us. 4 different... what am I trying to say here? 4 different sections. I suppose they're Ibuthos, aren't they? Or rather, they're Amabutho, to use the plural. Yes. 4 Amabutho. You don't say Ibuthos. It does in the rule book, but they make a point of explaining why they do that, I believe. Make it a bit clearer to most people, I suppose. But anyway... what do we got? Yes, so the gameplay was nice and easy to follow. It's a very, very different game, of course. It's unlike anything you've ever played before in its mechanics. Well, it certainly was for me. I don't know, other people may have played other games that are like this from the publisher. I haven't. So, yes, it was a very new experience for me. Yes, very, very clever. The chip pull tells you who's moving and that sort of thing, who's moving, how far they're moving, but also the chip pull will also have random events in there as well. And then, of course, we've got all the things that can occur when we draw cards from the deck. And the play balance was marvelous, I thought. Many, many times it looked like the Zulus were going to reach their victory location, at which point the battle's over, and some massive loss of 20 victory points if the game ends that way. So it'd be hard to imagine how the British would win. I suppose they would have had to have caused an enormous number of casualties or something like that to be able to pull any kind of a victory if the Zulus made it to the victory location. I like the way that the game starts out in the daylight and then eventually, from a random draw of the card in there, although I think you place it halfway down the deck, that sort of thing. So you know it'll be about that point, but you don't quite know when. And no, it is very handy, that stuff being driven by cards. Otherwise you'd be, you'd probably be rolling a die and adding all kinds of modifiers or something like that to determine, has night fallen yet? And this is a much more elegant way to do it. There's also the end of the game itself. When the relief column came here, that itself was that card gets put in towards the end of the deck. It's but not necessarily literally the end of the deck. So you've got these sort of vagaries in there. Then when do people become available? Let's see. I don't think Colour Sergeant Bourne was available from the beginning, was he? Sergeant Windridge certainly wasn't available at the beginning, so they become available eventually, and that adds to your possibilities. And then, of course, it does, as in any card-driven game or game with a lot of cards, it certainly it pays off to read all the special abilities and special considerations on the cards themselves. There's one here which I never did use, of course, which is Lieutenant Ardendorf here, the Boer, with his heroic ability. You can discard this card to return up to any 3 previously played chits to the MP Cup, either before or after this turn's draw. Right, okay. And largely I would look at that and sort of think, well, I'm not sure, why would I do that? And but I begin to see some reasons for it. But anyway, then you had that's right, the whole business of the fires, because I immediately thought, no, we need to put the fires out, don't we? Yes, of course, we need to put the fires out. But actually, the fires are pretty handy at night. They mean we don't get a negative modifier on the die roll, which would have been crippling. So, yeah, if a fire gets started, I would say let one burn. I don't know if it'd be better to have 2 of them burning. And, of course, it also means that then when the Zulus move to that building, they have to stop. They can't just move through it. They have to stop and then move off again next turn. And it means that if they're in the building, it means that they will retreat on a 4 as well as a 5. So, the fires are a pretty handy-dandy thing, it seems to me. And they will only cost you 2 victory points, which you could claim if the building were not on fire, as it were. Okay, what else do we have? Let's see. Don't be afraid. That's right. If you come to a crucial point, don't be afraid to take some of your special heroic people and discard them. Put them over there for the heroic sacrifice, as it were, ability. So that's I did that with Chard, with Bromhead, with I've finally got his name here, haven't I? Yeah, Commissary Dalton. I did it with Private Hook, and I did it with Corporal Sheese. All of them ended up over there. So don't be afraid to, when the time is right, to do that. I did it, however, before then, of course, those last 3, Corporal Sheese, Private Hook, and Commissary Dalton, can, of course, be in pivotal positions at the North Wall Hospital and the storehouse, not in that order, to attempt to force people back. But once they get penetrated and they end up over here, then you might think about putting them up there, and then you might think about playing them and having them end up over there. Okay, big point, which I think I may have done the British player an injustice at the beginning of the game, was I think maybe in once or twice I used the I used a heroic ability and I paid an action to do it, which was wrong. It's free, so that was my mistake. Okay, but that was hard on me, not on the game, so that was okay. It wasn't sort of cheating or anything. Let's see, what else do we have? Nice mechanics for, yes, if you have a big blitz when you do a huge volley fire or whatever, ammunition gets low, so then you have to worry about that. You've got to fix that before you fire next. I mean, you could fire without it, but then you've got lousy odds, of course. Forming the reserve platoon, that was very handy. We had Colour Sergeant Bourne and was it Bromhead or Chard down in here, forming the reserve platoon. That was extremely handy. Building barricades, that's something that, it's a no-brainer, as they wouldn't have said back then. You need to do that so that you can move the final Zulu victory location, which starts out here. Build 1 barricade, which will take you 3 turns, end up there, and then spend another 3 turns building a barricade, you'll end up here. So that's essential as far as I can see. Let's see, what else? No, we didn't have to worry about a lot of math, so it wasn't like we weren't doing odds at any time. We weren't computing odds. We certainly didn't have anything that remotely would have required a calculator. That would have been absurd. Okay, because some games, especially the older style games, where if you might be playing some sort of Avalon Hill or SBI, perhaps classic from 40 years ago or whatever, you might be tempted to whip out the calculator at some point. Nowhere near that in this game. All you've got is what would be the worst circumstances you could have if you had rifles that are overheated, firing at night with no fires, and low on ammunition. That would be -3 dice roll modifier, but that would be the most cumbersome that it would be. So generally speaking, there's either no modifier, or there might be a -1 rolling around somewhere, that sort of thing. Okay. Nice markers that you can put in position to remind you when these things are taking place. I think I will continue next time I play. I'll use the same method I did before, where if I get a rifle overheat chit coming out of there, I'll put it in there to remind me when I roll, and then I'll pop it back into the cup after I've rolled, that sort of thing. Let's see, what else? Right, so, but in terms of, in terms of the AI bot, in terms of the solo opponent, what did we think of that? Well, of course, this is an ideal situation for it, because you've got 4 bodies of enemy troops, and they basically keep pressing forward, and they are going forward to 4 different areas. It's not like they... There is nothing simulated in the rules that sort of say, oh, well, all of a sudden, this lot join up with them, and they're doing this or something like that. That doesn't happen. But no, they're just coming on, and they're trying to get to you. So there is the constant pressure there. There's nothing elaborate. They're not going to sort of feign a retreat, or, as I said, they're not going to sort of take 2 units and switch them to the opposing flank or something like that. No. But there is this constant pressure, and the pressure, as we saw, was extremely finely balanced. I think there were at least a couple of points and a couple of moments during the game where they really were 1 move away from winning, and there was certainly one where they would have won. They pulled out, they were here, and they pulled out an advance 2, which would have gone 1-2, and I had like 1 thing that I could do to stop them, 1 card that I could play that would stop that from happening, and that was done. So very, very finely balanced, and it's good, of course, if at the end of all of that you end up with a minor British victory, because of course if you end up with a crushing defeat, that can put you off the game. I know it's only the first time out, but that can, if you end up with a crushing defeat, you might sort of not be in any hurry to play the game again, especially if the game took a long time to play, which obviously this one didn't. So we got a nice right in the middle sort of a result. If I'd got an epic result, epic British victory, then normally in a situation like that, I ask myself, okay, what did I play incorrectly? This is not right. I'm a complete novice to this game, and I've scored an epic victory. So either I've done wildly, improbably well on the dice, or I've misunderstood some key concepts in the rules. Which is, funnily enough, that's actually, if I recall correctly, I think that's what happened to me. Might be what happened to me when I played, what was it? I seem to recall... No, maybe I'm imagining things. Yes. No, I'll stop that right there. I think I'm imagining things. Okay, I was thinking about another game. There was a solo game, and I thought I scored an epic victory the first time I played it, and I thought, again, did I get some key rule wrong here or something? Right, but anyway, so... Yes, so therefore I'm tempted, of course, to think, right, okay, well, next time out, let's see if I can improve my victory, because now I know rather more about the game. And, of course, the whole thing we haven't touched on is things like this sort of thing. Natal Native Horse and G Company arrives, and the Natal Native Contingent. Yes. And, who else have we got? We got somebody else up there. Yes, that sort of thing. Right. Yeah. Well, we got. Yeah, that's right. We got. So there's all that, and there's the cards up here. The optional rules. Sorry, is what I'm getting to. Here I am blethering on here. So we got Chaplain Smith. Hoo-hoo. Captain Rainforth bringing up G Company. Some firepower there. Yes. Lieutenant Henderson and the Natal Native Horse. Yes. Cattle Stampede. Yes, we all remember that from the film, don't we? And then we've got Captain Stevenson and the Natal Native Contingent. Yes, you see. And we've also got Singing Men of Harlech, which I understand is a bit iffy on the sort of historical validity sort of a thing, because they weren't actually the South Wales borderers at the time that the engagement took place. They were the 2nd Warwickshire, and they what was it? Their company song was the Warwickshire Lad, which I think I read somewhere didn't even have words, or wasn't traditionally performed with, wasn't traditionally sung. But anyway, yes, them singing Men of Harlech during the battle is certainly widely disputed. I think I've heard, and I say that as a Welshman. I would love to have it be the case. Interesting thing is, I think I mentioned at the beginning somewhere was that there were several. My hometown is Newport in Wales, in southeast Wales, more or less near Cardiff, the capital, and I live close to it now. And but the thing is that in the battle there were several privates. Well, I think they may have all been privates. Maybe some of them were corporals or whatever. But there were several chaps who were natives of Newport, so they were from my hometown. They were in the old battle, and some of them, I believe, were killed, and some of them survived. And I think I did mention them earlier in the video, and I just noticed here that I've actually got it written down. Yes, there was a Corporal and or Private Nicholas. No, sorry, I should say Corporal or Private Nicholas, and then Dunbar and Savage were the ones that I made note of when I was reading a splendid book on the subject called, what was it, Wolf on the Fold. And then the other one by the same author is Can Men Die Better, which is about Isandlwana, the battle that, of course, immediately preceded this engagement. Right. So, yes, I'm very tempted to, next time out, to deploy all the optional rules and go from there. Right. Well, anyway, I think that's enough for now. I hope you've enjoyed it. Excellent game. Zulus on the Ramparts. And as usual, I say, here's to it.